Hey gang, what's up? Welcome back here to another edition of Intuitive Angling, and thanks a lot for checking today's video out. And today, guys, we're going to be talking about Whopper Ploppers. Going to give you guys some Whopper Plopper tips, some comprehensive Whopper Plopper tips to help you guys catch some good fish, because it's getting to be that time of year where they start working. And I know that I've done several videos over the years on Whopper Ploppers, and I've even talked about how they don't work that good anymore. And that is true. They do not work near as good as what they used to, but they are still a very situational bait, and under the right situations, they can be highly productive, even though those situations have a lot smaller window than they had when they first came out. But anyway, I'm gonna go through and sort of give you guys some good overall tips that'll definitely help you catch them on it if you already know how to catch them on it, and if you don't, this will be a good foundation for you. So anyway, guys, real quick, just wanted to remind everybody, if anybody out there interested in booking a on the water lesson with me, just shoot me a private message on my Facebook page, Randy Blockett, Professional Angler, or you can book a virtual lesson with me at fishthemoment.com to go over any fishing issues or lakes or anything you want to. I'll put the link in the description for that virtual lesson. So much appreciated. Okay, guys, the Whopper Plopper is sort of like on the YouTube world. Whopper Ploppers are sort of like chatterbaits and flukes. Chatterbaits, flukes, and Whopper Ploppers get a lot of traction on YouTube, and the reason is they're good baits. I mean, they catch a lot of fish. A lot of people are sort of fascinated by it, and for whatever reason, people are pretty interested. I can do a video on a spinnerbait, which is a great lure. In fact, a spinnerbait is probably a better lure than a Whopper Plopper, and nobody watches it, but for whatever reason, there's a lot of interest in Whopper Ploppers. That's why we're doing the video on it. So, okay, guys, I'm gonna go through probably everything you need to know about fishing a Whopper Plopper, and then we're gonna get into where you wanna fish it and that type of stuff. First of all, let's talk about the rod and reel setup for it. I have experimented with a lot of different setups. I started out initially throwing it on braided line, like on 40 and 50 pound test Seaguar Smackdown, with like a 7.5 foot, some type of a medium action soft tip rod, like that Mega Bass launcher. And I had decent success, but I didn't like the way it felt in the water. It's like, a lot of times when you're casting this Whopper Plopper a long way, you can get a really bad bird's nest with braided line that you cannot get out. You basically have to cut it out with scissors. And I just didn't like the way that the braid felt going through the rod tip with this bait. So I started rigging it up, fishing it on 25 pound test Seaguar in Vizex fluorocarbon line on my flipping stick, Mega Bass Alclee's flipping stick. And guys, that is the outfit that I have found the best to throw a Whopper Plopper on, as far as terms of castability and getting the action on the bait and landing the fish. With a flipping stick, I can make a long cast with it. I can take up a lot of line. When that fish hits it, I can put a lot of power into it. And the fluorocarbon gives me a little bit of stretch to offset the stiffer tip of the flipping stick. But with the big hooks that you have on a Whopper Plopper, it makes a big difference. So that's my setup. The next, I want to go into colors before we get into everything else. Now, basically, I use 3 different colors, and I'm going to show you how to modify, or how you can modify one particular color here, which is one of the things I like to do. The first one I use is, I think they call this monkey butt, or bone. No, this is a bone one they call it, even though it's sort of like a chartreuse look and it's not a true bone. This is the one that I use under low light conditions. Say, for example, if it's a rainy day, if it's cloudy, if it's heavy overcast and early in the morning, low light conditions, this is a bright bait. It gets a lot of attention. So the only time I throw this is in low light conditions. I really like it for that. The next one is sort of like for the exact opposite. If I have bright sun out, not much wind, water's a little bit cleaner, I go to this one. I think they call it monkey butt. It's more of a translucent color. It's more of a shad. And you would think that this would be the best color all the time because it looks like a shad going across the water, but not necessarily. It's very conditional. So if I have bright sun and clear water, that's when I go to this translucent one. But guys, my favorite is a black one, just a black Whopper Plopper here. And this is the black one they come out of the factory. It's this one here. It's called a loon, and you can see mine's different. Guys, what I have found about this, I catch a lot more fish. This is a tip that's going to benefit you from watching this YouTube video. is take any Whopper Plopper and scrape all the paint off of it to where it's clear, and then take a black magic marker and just go over it with a black magic marker. And that's what I did here. And it gives it sort of a translucent looking black. And I have caught probably more fish on this situation, on this type of a bait than anything. This thing works in a wide range of conditions. If I had just one bait to throw, it would be this black one here. It works best on just the average fishing day, just a partly cloudy day with just 5 to 10 mile an hour wind, and it works early, late in the day. It's just, probably throw this one more than anything else as far as the color. I do think color makes some difference in a Whopper Plopper. I have seen it quite a bit. A lot of top waters that you fish, color's really not that big of a deal a lot of times because you're fishing it fast across the surface. But with Whopper Ploppers, for whatever reason, I think because they're such a big lure, color seems to be the big deal. So another thing you can do, guys, is upgrade your hooks. These are the stock hooks that comes with the Whopper Plopper here. I upgrade probably twice the size. These are #1 Gamakatsu round ends here, quite a bit larger hook. And going with a larger hook, guys, this is one of the few lures that I go with a bigger hook. If you watch my YouTube channel a lot, you hear me talk a lot about using smaller hooks, which I do for almost every application. But for a Whopper Plopper, I like a big hook. It doesn't affect the action at all on the thing, and you get a lot of fish that slap at a Whopper Plopper, and having a big barb and the larger hook will really hook a lot more of them. So next thing, guys, is how you want to work it. Now, I think one of the biggest mistakes that most people make that fish a Whopper Plopper that don't know much about Whopper Plopper fishing is they fish it too slow. Whopper Ploppers, in my opinion, are designed to be fished pretty fast. I don't mean like burning them in, but you don't want to throw the Whopper Plopper out there and just like blah 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 blah. Just have a little bit faster too, like that, almost like a fast buzz bait. And for whatever reason, to me, it just generates more strikes, and it generates a bigger strike if you have a little bit faster. And I also use a stop and go retrieve. So what I'll do is I'll cast it out there and I point the rod tip, pretty much right at the bait, and I'll be reeling it, and I stop it, like do a half turn, like I reel it 5 or 6 cranks and then do half turn and stop it, half turn and stop it. And that little bit of, hesitation coming through the water seems like it generates a lot of strikes too. And finally, as far as where you're fishing it, guys, a Whopper Plopper will work anywhere that you think there's a bass at. I don't care if it's on the edge of a grass, if it's a dock, if it's a lay down tree, if it's a rocky bank, if it's a riprap bank, if it's a bare bank. You don't have to be real picky. The big key with the plopper is putting it in your hand, don't take it out of your hand, and just keep fishing it. And that's probably why a lot of people don't catch as many fish on it as what they probably should, is they don't throw it long enough, because it's sort of like a big glide bait or swim bait. You're probably not going to get a lot of bites on it. You did 5 years ago before everybody started using the thing, but anymore it's become a lot more situational. And if there is a time frame I like to fish it, it's about from now until October. I mean, to me it's a summer, mid to late summer, fall type bait. That's just when they really like it. So hope it helps out, guys. We'll talk later.